Hey everybody, happy Saturday night. Today is September 27th, 2025. This is the Union Across the Pitch postgame show on AAT Sports Network. My name is Mike Barrera. I'm joined by the one and only Bolivian Bogart himself, Jose Nunez. Jose, I got to share our social media links. I'm glad you started the show with me. I know Bradley Cornell is also going to be, coming off with the press so for in a few minutes. So please take it away. How are you feeling right now? Because I mean, belt to ass.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on right, Mike, and thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. Turns out I have no. It just worked out. So yeah, I mean, tale as old as time nowadays, right? In terms of Philadelphia beating up little brother DC United down I-95.
Yep.
Third, what was the stat? Third year in a row, or three times that Philadelphia has beaten an opponent by five or more goals. I think 2022, 2025, and then 2019. I think was the stat from MLS Communications earlier this evening. Making up certainly for the massive stumble that was Vancouver, but like damn, like this night could go a lot better should Cincinnati stumble against Orlando. But then again, Orlando's a scary team. A draw, fantastic if both teams drop points. I just don't want either team to get hot, and certainly don't want Cincinnati to carry on. But Mike, how are you feeling, man? Because there was a point where, and you know how I function in terms of cutting clips, posting.
Yeah.
They were in quick succession, some of these goals.
It was a crazy night. In my match preview, I had kind of alluded to this being a get right game, and I really did think this was going to be like a 2-0, 3-0 victory. I saw there was rain in the forecast. I'm like, okay, the ground's going to be a bit tough. And honestly, in the first 15 minutes, it looked like it was going to be a tight match. It did not look like it was going to be a blowout, even though the Union scored right away. I was like, okay, DC's getting their chances. They almost had a couple. I probably could have put one in the first half alone. And it felt like, okay, it might be a 2-1, 3-1 game. And guess what? That actually, matches their recent form since what's his last name? Weiler, right? Renee Weiler
Yeah,
took
I
over
don't
as
know
a
how to
coach.
properly. Yeah, I don't know how to properly say. And you know that team, that franchise is just going through wholesale changes with bringing a
Yeah.
new, we'll call it the new Ernst Tanner's in town, and now obviously a head coach in the middle of the season. Just complete shambles on what they're doing. Just absolute disaster of a historic squad. I mean, I think of two Bolivian legends
Yeah.
and Moreno and Echeverri who played through there. It's just this is such a shell of the team that used to be legendary. Just
And that's
such a
and that's
shame.
the thing. So like they bring in this coach, 20 it was like 24 years of coaching experience. He's won everywhere he's gone to. It's according to the commentators, I think I saw online too, the most successful coach has ever been brought into DC United ever. So like I expected them to continue to play how they've been playing. They took Miami 3-2. They lost that game. They've had 3 draws in their last 5 games. They beat New York City, who's not a bad squad whatsoever. I'm thinking like they're going to put up a fight tonight, and I'm just shocked by this. And also, before the match even started tonight, we saw Toronto squeak out a draw against Miami, which is humongous. So let me get to the comments real quick. We're going to go to the lineup. We're going to go to the standings. I have a Quinn Sullivan U.S. men's national team kit on right now. I'm hoping Quinn's okay. As soon as I saw him go down, I'm like, I got to put the kit on for some good luck for Quinn Sullivan out there. Let's go with Joe. Thank you, Toronto. You didn't get their goal differential back. Yeah, fuck Miami. Absolutely agree there, Joe. The 7-0 loss was what we all thought about was the goal differential, right? That's a huge blow to us. Oh, Jose, timeout. What's up?
Charlotte losing 4-1 to Montreal right now.
I love it. Let's keep the good vibes going. SC414R. Again, I'm going to call you SC tonight. Feels good, man. It does feel good. It feels damn good to see an ass kicking like that. McFly says, needed that scoreline. Didn't need all the injuries. Fingers crossed. Yeah, we saw Indy Vassal get a little knock on his right shin. Raffanello was kind of reaching towards his back hamstring. We saw Kai Wagner limping around late in that match. Of course, Quinn Sullivan again goes down. He jogged off the field on his own. It looked like he was trying to get back on the field, and then he had to be basically carried off, with two people around his arm. So we're going to see what Bradley says about Quinn Sullivan, and hopefully we find out some more information soon. And hopefully it's maybe a bad cramp or something, that it's nothing too serious. Let's keep going down this list of comments. Michael says, let's fucking go. I love it. He says again, can we put the Vancouver 7-0 behind us now? I think now officially even statistically speaking, we can put the 7-0 loss behind us. T-Mac joins us. Milan Alaski, belt to ass. Listen, Jose, if you had a player on your squad, let me ask you a question. Let's say you're the general manager of a team in the Western Conference. I'm not going to name any names, but let's say you were a general manager of that squad and you had a player from the state that you play in on your team who was scoring at a remarkable clip. Would you just let him walk away or try to keep him? Because we're going to have to mail San Diego a gift basket if we get the Supporter Shield, because Milan Alaski has been fantastic for us.
Yeah, he's been sort of the ignition that this team needed, the fire that it needed in its belly. And I'm not going to reveal who it was, but the Union were very close to bringing in a second player, a center back as well. So if you can imagine how well this has worked out, imagine that this Milan Alaski plus with this other addition could have been. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but like what a window the Union have had in terms of just bringing in a player. And this is, mind you, second year in a row where they've maybe hit the jackpot with an addition midseason, just like Danley Jean-Jacques last year, and certainly what he's doing this year. So very, very astute. Not that you need a serious scouting. I mean, you saw what he did in those very early stages of the season for San Diego, and suddenly you figure out, oh shit, he's available. Okay, like let's figure it out. Let's try to make it work, and they made it work. So yeah, kudos to Ernst Tanner.
Yeah, Milan and San Diego had mutually terminated his loan.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had actually already gone back overseas by the time he played a game before the Union even brought him back over. So again, as you said, phenomenal job by Ernst. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right. No, and I think it was the podcast, the dude Milan actually talked where like, I wasn't really, I don't know if he was like interested in playing back to where he was. He just wanted to come back to the States, and Philadelphia was the team that made the most sense and accepted a TAM deal. So that's also fascinating, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So I mean, let's get into, I guess, the lineup first and foremost, because I think right off the bat we knew that Frankie Westfield was not going to be available for international duty. Nathan Harriel was, of course, slotted in there. Yes, big round of applause to him. That's a massive call up for him, and really wishing him the best of luck and a healthy international duty. So Nathan Harriel was on the right back tonight. Macania, after serving the 2-game suspension, is back at center back next to Jacob Glesnes. The big one for me was that Michael Ua did not start tonight. It was Milan Alaski in the lineup with Indy Vaslov and Quinn Sullivan. Now, again, Jose, I think I texted the group chat at first. It almost seemed like Indy was playing as a striker and Milan was midfield. I couldn't really tell. And then Quinn Sullivan, of course, gets hurt. So we really didn't get to see the whole picture there. Did you agree with how Carnell started this lineup with Ua on the bench and Alaski and Vaslov on the field?
I'm going to be super transparent. I missed the first 9 minutes because my son was tired. So he woke up at like 6 a.m. Rafael did, had his soccer game, and then we went to a birthday party, and we came back at like 7:28, I think is when we strolled through the house. But he was crying so hard, not because he had fallen asleep in the car and had these days, Mike, strolling him into the house or whatever. He was crying because he stepped and killed a caterpillar. So I was dealing with that. So I missed the injury. I backed up. Finally saw what happened to Quinn. Really interested to hear what actually happened with him.
And second goal of the game,
but
coming off the own goal that was originally credited to Michael Ua.
Someone has the radio on at the pot on the
what is that?
On the Zoom.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
No, I was gonna say I can't question Bradley Carnell at this point. Sure, Vancouver's one thing, but like pulling the strings to put Mikel Ua in that spot so early into the game, fantastic. Like, yes, great substitution despite the injury.
Absolutely. Are you gonna hop onto the press conference right now?
I will hop onto the press conference. I will back Mike. Let those pipes burn.
I'll keep it going. We got comments to talk to, so I'll see you in a couple minutes, Jose. There you go. Okay, so while Jose is handling the press conference right now, let me fix my screen. I'm way too close to y'all. Let's try to back that up. I can't do it. Okay. Anyway, this is what you're getting now if you're watching on YouTube. So Jose Nunez hopped off for a couple minutes. He's going to handle the Bradley Carnell press conference and then jump back in to join the conversation. I really am interested to hear again about Quinn Sullivan and what else Bradley is going to say today after the 6-0 beatdown. Mandy joins us. Hello, lads, in chat. How we feeling? Mandy, I'm feeling pretty great. Super curious, though, about how your little, private watch party at Subaru Park was. If you could share some thoughts on that in the comment section That'd be fantastic. Cole says, funny note on MLS Countdown, they were showing pictures of the US U20 players, and they put a picture of Mika instead of Frankie. That is pretty funny. Yeah, the Apple commentators, by the way, just real quick, and I know I'm kind of jumping around. There's a lot to talk about tonight, but at one point in the Apple telecast, the commentators said they were talking about the bench for the Union, and they said, "Oh yeah, Chris Donovan has been a pretty good piece for Carnell off the bench." I'm thinking like, are they watching any of these games? But anyway, it caught me off guard. I really don't like national media, national broadcasts. They never seem to do their homework properly enough. Really makes me appreciate what we have here in Philly with Dave Leno and Sebastian Le Toux. And it makes me miss commentators like Danny Higginbottom, who, even though he is national media now for Apple, always does his homework and always sounds fantastic on those Apple calls. So again, as Jose alluded to, he was okay with the lineup. For me personally, I was hoping to see Ua. I thought he earned the start tonight, but it all worked out. So let me go into my notes real fast before I continue this conversation. That is not it. Neither is that. Okay. So, rainy day to start this match. It rained basically the entire game. Early on in this match, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but Lukic seemed to be a bit off. I think he was trying to complete passes on the ground that were just not going anywhere because of the wet pitch. I think early on he had 2 really bad turnovers that led to counterattacks. Even his third turnover, which was in the Union box, led to a corner kick. So that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier in this conversation was, even though the Union scored early, their goal was kind of against the run of play. There was a good 10 minutes or so where DC looked much more dangerous than the Union. And even the commentators did highlight that, and you could see it plain as day. The defensive line and the midfield were just not closing down their men fast enough. DC was getting in front of the line and creating space really easily. And I'm honestly, again, frankly surprised that DC did not score a goal. But Quinn goes down early. He gets helped off. And then coach brings on Micah Ua. So I'm going to see when he came off. It was about 12 minutes on that Quinn Sullivan came off. Ua replaced him and moved Olaski and Indy together. So then Milan Olaski and Indy Vasiliev go together in the attacking mids, and you have Ua and Bruno Damiani up top. Now, I'm pretty sure it's Mandy is the one who posted on Twitter earlier that she's wanted to see more of Ua and Damiani together. I mean, it worked out great for the Union tonight, having that pair up top. And I'll get into the goals in a few minutes. Let me just keep going down this list. I'm going to bring up some comments real quick. Let's see here. We have Mandy says, here you go. I've wanted Ua and Damiani together for so long. My crops are flourishing and all that. Cole also said Pierre is a good forward option and that Bender has been good depth. Yeah, Cole, again, more examples of how the Apple commentators don't really know what they're talking about because they don't pay attention to these teams as closely as they should. Mandy says here, 2010 North is very sleek, 20s Art Deco, speakeasy style, small group, about 20 people, great food and drinks, lots of TVs. We duped for every goal. Would recommend checking out if you could. I know Mandy was at the 2010 North Club at Subaru Park. Super cool, it sounds like, based off this comment. So I'm glad you had a good time, Mandy. I was at Subaru Park yesterday. I'm working on this little project right now that I'm keeping pretty close to the vest. Only a few people know what's going on, but I was at Subaru Park yesterday filming something. So I saw them setting up a bunch of things in the stands. I didn't know what it was for. And apparently there was some sort of wedding at Subaru Park, or there was like a bride and groom photograph there. So that's pretty cool. Congrats to them. I guess if they had a wedding there. But yeah, the stadium looked great last night, and I saw the staff were hard working out there trying to get it all set up. McFly says Olaski, Quinn, and Indy pressed so hard together. I think it's what we needed. Yeah, absolutely agree. Needed that high energy, which we just didn't see in the last week of games. Lord of Olympia says, hi, guys. Said before, Olaski is a real baller. Yeah, again, Lord of Olympia, thanks for joining us tonight. It's absolutely fantastic that San Diego was willing to part with him and let him go. And it was a great job by Tanner to track him down and bring him back from overseas. Valerie says, Chicago 1-0 at the half over Columbus. Columbus really has had a bad second half of the season. Cole says Damiani and Ua could be the pairing going forward. I don't think you're going to take Ty Baribo off the starting rotation. That's the only thing. Now, we might see Ua replace Ty Baribo rather than maybe Bruno. We'll see how that goes. I think he's replaced Ty plenty of times throughout the season, at least periodically. I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but Listen, I liked what we saw from the two of them. They look fantastic tonight. Cole says both are hot and confident. Brebo, not so much. And listen, I think that brings up a good point to something I talked about in the preview, Cole. Confidence. We had talked about how Bruno Damiani's penalty kick, I forget who it was against now, was terrible. And it looked really bad. It looked like he lacked a lot of confidence. Bruno Damiani now has 3 goals in the last 4 games. He has a fantastic header against Cincinnati over Matt Miazga. He had the goal against the Revolution where he just came out of nowhere into the box, basically stole the goal from Ty and put one in to make it a 1-0 game. And he scores again tonight. And he just is starting to pick up steam, and he's starting to get hot at the right time. I kind of hate that we have like a 2-week break between the Charlotte match and the New York City match. I don't want him to be out of match form for that long before going back to Charlotte for the final game of the season. I wish there was at least a game in between that, but Ty hasn't been scoring a bunch lately, but to see Ua come into a game like he did today and perform the way he did was fantastic. But Bruno Damiani, he's the big one for us. We have said it throughout the entire season. He's in the right place. He's finding the right position inside the box. He's getting shots on target. He has like a pretty good expected goal number, etc. Whatever you want to say. That's great until you actually put the ball into the net. And we've been wanting him to finally go off. And even Jose has said on here plenty of times, yeah, maybe Bruno's not scoring right now, but we're still winning games and we're still finding ways to earn points. And at least if he can continue this relatively strong form, eventually he will get hot. And right now he's getting hot. And if you're going to carry this hot striker into the playoffs, that's just going to be awesome. So really got to see Bruno Damiani finding his form late into the season. And as Cole says, I always forget he's only 23. Yeah, listen, we give players like Makanya and Westfield and even, Lukic, I guess, in a way, Indy Vassal, these young players, a hard time. But then we say, oh, yeah, they're so young. Well, Bruno's a young guy, too. And he brings a lot of energy. And you see every time he scores a goal, too, or gets a goal contribution or helps his teammates. And he's really passionate when he scores, especially. I love it. I love Bruno Damiani's intensity for 90 minutes. He never takes a play off. He always gets beaten up. Doesn't get enough calls as he should, for sure. And yet he gets right back up and keeps playing. So Bruno, as of right now, is a man on a mission. And the Union really have to ride him as much as we possibly can to end the season, especially if we want to win the Supporter Shield. Let's see here, though. Let's go into the goals. So we have Makanya winning a header. Olaski then feeds Ua, who was running behind the defense, and he times it perfectly to Bruno Damiani. That makes it 1-0. So that was the first goal there. Again, the whole Ua and Bruno pairing kicked off to a good start. Milan Olaski, again, showing his precision, showing his skill with a great pass leading to that goal. After that, we had a couple turnovers from Lukic that almost cost us a goal there, too. But two players I want to highlight in the first half that stood out to me, and they continue to stand out for the rest of the match, was Makanya and Danley. Danley, in particular, had a really strong match. Actually, SC mentions right here, DJJ had a great game. He was everywhere. Yeah, every time there was a pass that could be intercepted, it felt like Danley and Makanya were there. Every time there was any space, any DCU player with space on the ball, it seemed like he closed them down immediately. He's in the first half in particular, though, he really got the momentum back into the Union's favor, and it really kind of sparked what would be a really fantastic first half, a 3-0 first half for Philly. So we've seen Danley play great throughout the season. We mentioned recently how he was away for international duty with Haiti. Bradley Carnell mentioned how he had played the most minutes out of everybody, and we talked about this last week on the show. He played in with Haiti, and then he comes back to U.S. He plays at least 20 or 30 minutes against Vancouver. He plays against Nashville. He plays against New England. He needed a full week off. Like, if any player needed rest, it was Danley Jean-Jacques. He needed as much rest as possible, and you see what happens tonight. And that's another reason why I'm really excited for what's to come from the Philadelphia Union. We've had so much stops or so much of a congestion throughout this year. We've had international duties. We've had injuries. We've had Open Cup. We've had so many things that have forced Bradley Carnell into rotation. And even tonight, you have a lot of rotation because of a suspended player, international duty, and an injured player 10 minutes into the game. So you're going to have these issues, but Danley in particular was just fantastic. And if he's going to be rested week in and week out, and if he's going to play the way he did tonight, I mean, it reminds me so much of Jose Martinez when Jose Martinez was on point. And I think Danley is just a more consistent version of him, obviously less emotional and less wild cardy than Jose. But we can all agree here, whether you thought Jose was great or not, when Martinez was on point and when Martinez was playing at the highest level, he was the best player on the field. And there is a legitimate chance that you could say that Danley Jean-Jacques, when playing at his best, is the best player on the field any given night. And even Mike, at great point, the commentators mentioned. They mentioned a Nagby as well, and they had that comparison there. I was like, okay, yeah, like I see what they're going with, but it's certainly one of those very complimentary comparison there. Mandy says DJJ is a little less spicy than Brujo. Yeah, a little bit, just a tiny bit. But I think to the point I was making, though, you needed this first half. You need this team to come out strong in the first half. And you needed players like Danley Jean-Jacques and Macania and, the forwards to step up. But Danley in particular was, as Cole mentioned, he was just everywhere. He was fantastic. Again, Union continued to dodge bullets. Stroud hits a crossbar. I thought he probably should have gotten that one. And personally, Glessons had a couple diving blocks in the first half as well. Saved the big one in front of Benteke, which was awesome. Servania gets a yellow card after Ua beats him too, so he's suspended for the next match, which is just tough for them because they really need as many players as they can to right this ship here. But again, let's focus on another goal, which was the Ua own goal. Well, it's Ua scored, but it was an own goal. So Kai finds Bruno Damiani, and then now Bruno's turn to find Michael Ua. It was basically just one of those nights where the ball bounced the Union's way, and it was on full display there on the second goal. Ua's initial shot gets blocked. It bounces awkwardly in front of him. He hits it again, but they ended up calling an own goal. But honestly, you could have found a reason to credit to Ua. But again, it shows how important he was tonight and how much of an impact he made tonight. And if that goal stood, which again he scored later, so I guess it doesn't matter. But Michael Ua is now third all time on the Union scoring list, which is just remarkable when you think about it. Now, a lot of people are not Michael Ua fans. They don't believe he scores enough for them. They don't believe he's as good as Julian Carranza or Ty Bariba, or who else you want to say. And he gets a lot of hate, and I personally don't agree with it. I think everybody who's been on our show as a guest have agreed that Michael Uaz does a lot of things you don't always see on the box score. He doesn't always score a goal, but he does other things that helps the team win. Michael Ua is third all time in Union scoring history, and that's just remarkable. Jose is back in the studio. He's not there though. Jose, hello. I see you with a drink. So we were just talking about the second goal, how it was an own goal, but Michael Ua is now third all time in the Union scoring list because he did eventually get a goal, and we'll get to those other 4 goals later. But your thoughts on Michael tonight, because again, he showed how important he is for this club.
Yeah, big cheers to everybody. A little classic Yellowstone bourbon for all of those that are enjoying. Mikel Ua, yeah. Actually, Bradley Cornell spoke about him a little bit today, right? I felt like tonight was very much a statement for Ua, right? Yes. Statement made in terms of what he wants, in terms of probably getting that spot back. And I think it's loud and clear, pretty obvious. I mean, if I can pick up on that, Bradley Cornell can see right through it a mile ahead. So
sure.
I think that tonight was just one of those statement performances where, like, listen, I deserve what I'm owed in terms of potentially being a starter, not just here in Philadelphia. I continue to say it. I think he could be a starter in probably 3/4 of the teams in MLS right now, considering his production, what he can do, and what he did tonight in such a short time. That own goal, I don't know. I think I would have seen it, but Bradley mentioned that he's just happy to be able to have a guy like Ua, who right now sits in the second shift coming in, maybe the first sub in. But the reality is that he is incredibly fortunate to have this type of depth in that position right now. And I think, us as press and fans who are in the stands watching should be incredibly happy about that too, and not take it for granted, because again, who knows what his future has ahead of him. And I hope it's with Philadelphia, but if it's not with Philadelphia, whoever gets him for whatever money is going to have an incredibly hard worker who can just turn it on and flip a game upside down.
Well, it's so funny. So before you joined back for this conversation, we talked about how the Apple commentators compared Nagby and Danley and their impact to the teams.
Yeah, okay.
But again, I mean, I can see it. Kyle says here, I prefer Ua coming off the bench, brings energy to the team, kind of like when Burke would come in. And it does remind me a lot of Corey Burke, a player who probably could start on most teams. He did end up finding some starts with the Red Bulls after he left the Union. But that was a player coming to the end of his Union career who was actually one of the most important parts of this team because he was so good off the bench. He brought such a great energy. And I think we've talked about all season Alejandro Bedoya and Jacob Lessons and Andre Blake being leaders for this team.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ua is necessarily a vocal leader, but the way he plays shows a lot of leadership for Michael. And I mean, he's a veteran of the squad.
Ooh, I see this comment that's catching my eye here. I don't know if you
I'm behind the comments. These guys have been great on the comments. So which one is it?
I see Mandy. Mandy, how are you? Danley Jean Jacques is a little less spicy than Brujo, one above that actually. And I think it was a YouTube comment. You can keep popping them up. But man, Mandy, that is exactly what I've been telling Mike for the longest time and have told many other people throughout Danley's stay in Philadelphia. And who knows what the future has. I don't, Bradley was very open during today's press conference after the game that, he's not going to put a lot of weight on tonight's performance. He's not going to put a lot of weight behind the result and the results around them because he wants to be laser focused on what's ahead. And there really isn't much to get out of a 6-0 win, right? Not great by DC, I guess good by Philadelphia, etc. But Danley Jean Jacques, man, there was that one sequence I posted where I kid you not, it must have been like a minute or so of him just pinging the ball around back and forth with players, shifting his hips one way to move bodies the other and stringing passes and just blocking left and right. Just absolute treat and peach of a game by him. And the fact that he doesn't have that spiciness that, yes, in Philadelphia, we like to see as press and fans love to see the bite in players. You can also count that he's not going to be a hothead that gets into fights. He's not going to be a hothead that gets in trouble. So, just such a treat to have him, and who knows, and I hate to say this because I know people pick up on it, but like how long he's going to stay in Philadelphia because performances like tonight are the ones that catch the eye of scouts in Europe.
Somebody mentioned that in the comments too. Like, just I think at least they're coming in pretty hot, but just enjoying it while he's here. But since you were in the press conference, Core Blaney says anything on Quinn or Indy regarding the injuries or any sort of injury news from Bradley Carnell.
Yeah, so Bradley had this sentence that I try to catch, and frankly, I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed. I don't think the Union are live streaming the post-game conferences anymore. They're posting them later, I think, and that's okay. If anything, we're just fortunate they do anything with them. The one sentence that Bradley put out there, or quote that I caught quick, was, my mind is not on the results. My mind is on the guys who had to be subbed out. And then he went on ahead of like, Raffanello played 15-20 minutes before he had to be subbed out. Kai,
Indy got a little knocked too.
Indy, and he mentioned Quinn is the worst for wear. He's with the doctors tonight. So who knows what happens with that? I'm putting feelers out to kind of figure out. And for my own headcanon, I will never ever break news on injuries. That's for the club to talk about, unless the players go out and say it the way that Jan Glavinovic mentioned it. And then obviously I shared it. But we'll see what happens with Quinn, man. It's not a good time to get injured.
No, but if anything, and I kind of mentioned it earlier before, again, when you weren't here, how Bruno's getting hot at the right time. And it sucks that you have that 2-week break between NYCFC and Charlotte. However, on the flip side of that, you have a 2-week break for Quinn Sullivan to get a little bit better. So I'm hoping that gives you that a bit of time, even if he can't play against New York City at home. Hopefully he's back for Charlotte, because that could really determine the Shield race at that point, considering how this whole season has gone. Oh, wow, Mandy says here, someone did post a pic of Quinn on a stretcher from the stadium, but
yeah, I mean, I don't want to read too much into that, and
yeah.
I'll wait to hear, and I know, Mike, I can comfortably share things with you, but the reality is that, like, if it's bad enough and it's not for me to share, I will not share. That's how I keep trust with sources. So we'll see what happens with Quinn. Hopefully he stays healthy.
Absolutely. So when you were with Carnell, we just talked about the first 2 goals, kind of just discussing each one a little bit here. The third goal was the definition of what you and I had talked about a few weeks ago, how I think it was Milan took a shot from outside the 18. I think Kai like flipped his hands up, or Bruno flipped his hands up, and you got upset. You're like, no, let him rip one. He has every right to rip shots from wherever he wants to.
Yeah.
And Alofsky gets space, rips a shot. It's a ricochet off the keeper, and Indy Vasiliev finishes it perfectly. Honestly, your thoughts on that third goal, which would have been the final goal of the first half?
A great goal in terms of, yes, let the shooter shoot, but if you're any other player that's watching that ball, follow the ball. And that's exactly what Indy Vasiliev did, right? I hate to say that's like elementary, middle school coaching, but it truly is. Follow the ball. The shooter cannot follow the ball because obviously they're going to be in the air after kicking the ball. So if you're another striker, just crash the net. And that's exactly what Indy did. And that's exactly what allowed him to go on and create probably the most iconic moment of the season so far, or one of the most iconic moments of the season. His little shimmy dance,
little shimmy thing. It was like a weird like butt twitch shimmy thing. It was weird. Hey, listen, it works.
it works for him. Yes, it sure works for him. But yeah, man, I don't think that there's much else to say about it. I'm still racking my head onto who scored who and in what order. That's a great problem. That's a great problem to work through.
It's fantastic. But I think let's focus on Indy Vasiliev for just a brief moment here. I think it was before his concussion. There was a good stretch where he had a couple goals and an assist. I think he scored against the Red Bulls, got an assist shortly after, etc. He gets hurt. But we've been hard on Indy Vasiliev throughout the season. I know our friend Vince, our good pal Vince, had mentioned he's kind of like almost a great player. Like he's really great in press. He's really strong defensively. He's got a high energy, but he can't always seem to figure it out on the final third.
Yeah.
Tonight is the perfect example of what happens when Indy Vasiliev is completely on. I mean, he was great. He was all over the place, similar to Danley Jean-Jacques. And Jose kind of goes back to the point you made earlier about Tanner, finding the right pieces and finding these players who can step up and support each other when it matters most. And listen, losing Quinn Sullivan's a massive blow to this team. I don't care what you think about Quinn. And they all stepped up when they needed him to.
Sure did. And I think that was throughout the different parts of the field, Mike, right? In terms of the defense and then the midfield and then the forwards, just sort of figuring out who needs to do what. And I know I posted about it earlier, but the yin and yang connection between Danley and Jovan, you saw that today, the way that one pushes forward, the other one can do the dirty work in the back, and then they have to switch back and forth. It was, and sure, Bradley can say that, there's not much to get out of this game. And I sort of believe him in that sense, but like there is so much to get out of this game because they did all the little things right, and that's what allowed them to get 6 goals against DC United.
Let's keep talking about little things, man. Little things, like we're good Charlotte. I hope somebody gets that reference. In the second half, right away, Bruno Damiani does little things, does a fantastic job of shielding his defender, finds Milan Alofsky, who then takes another rip at net and somehow squeaks it past the goalkeeper. I mean, he to end the game, end the first half, he just barely hits the side netting on a strike from outside the 18, and then basically starts the second half doing the same thing. He gets enough space and just lets it rip. But again, Bruno Damiani doing those little things that not every player will do, and using that body of his, even at 23, that's a full-grown man out there. Any thoughts on Bruno's play tonight, but in particular that moment right there, showing how strong he actually is?
No, I think this is the second time that he's gotten to flex, no pun intended, that part of his game, right? In terms of, remember the DC United game earlier in the season where he literally sat and spun a player into like a 180 basically to pass the ball on, like, or to score, actually, I should say. Sorry, I just got a notification. To me, it's again, like, these are the things. And again, like, the charts are out there. I continue to share sort of the metrics. Bruno's fantastic in 2/3 of the game right now.
Yeah.
Defensively and also in terms of setting people up. The finishing's what's lacking. And, again, like, I hate to bring up some other examples, but there's 2 or 3 goals that he has been robbed of because these goalkeepers are suddenly turning the clock. Sean Johnson against Toronto, where Bruno had a bicycle kick, and then Brad Guzan, who just had an incredible dive over to his left side. So, oh my goodness, Chicago. Yeah, what's his name? Elliott had an assist on the match for Chicago. I think Damiani is just a good fit, and the commentators in the Spanish feed said it best too. they went on and scored 6 without their leading scorer on the night.
It's fantastic. And listen, you mentioned Sean Johnson, by the way. For those of you who watched the Miami game versus Toronto, he had a huge free kick save to keep it 1-1 late in that match, like 80th minute. So, but yeah, listen, Jose, I really like how Bruno's getting hot at the right time. But we mentioned right here, Chicago's up 2-0 on Columbus in the 70th minute. And even SC mentions here, Fire playing well, still have to play Miami. Fire are not a bad squad. I mean, I know their record doesn't suggest that, but they do find ways to score. They have pretty dangerous players, and that's what Bradley Carnell mentioned before the New England match, and that's what he meant. That's what he mentioned in the pre-match press conference prior to this game. There might be bad teams, I guess you could say, but there are playmakers on every single squad. He talked about it tonight with Peglo and Piriani and Benteke, obviously being a super dangerous player, and you saw it early on in the first half. Nathan Harrell did everything humanly possible to keep Benteke away from that ball in the first half. That would have easily been a header and a goal. It probably would have put up 1-0 if I remember correctly. So Go ahead if you want to add something there.
No, the only thing I was going to say, one stat that jumped at me that I figured wasn't relevant to bring up during the pre-match press conference, but Pirani, as a U22 player, has never won against the Union.
Really?
Which to me is kind of interesting, right? Like that's a guy that you're investing a lot on, but he for whatever reason has a 0-1-3 record against Philadelphia. You know, it is what it is, but just interesting. A guy who's supposed to be sort of this game changer, just not doing it. And I don't know, man. My mind right now is on those guys that had to be substituted. I hope that they're healthy because any injury, sure, the international break sort of helps coming up, but the reality is that like any injury at this point that lasts into the season, like into the postseason, I should say, is just. I shouldn't even look into the postseason. I know how much it means to the players and to the team to win the community, the supporter shield. That again, any injury just completely might derail that. But they're taking care of business.
I think Indy seemed to be okay. It looked like he was going to come out at that point anyway, and he was grabbing his shin, which makes me feel better than rather his knee. Like again, I just watched it all the first. I didn't watch it a second time to see, but. It looked like he was all right. Rafinel is tough because it looked like he grabbed his hamstring, which, you never know how bad those could be. And, of course, Kai Wagner. Kai and Quinn are the two major ones, and we have to hope they're okay. Mandy mentioned here, love the assist goal pairings as well. I believe Ua and Damiani assisted each other, and then the same for Indy. And listen, that segues me into the fifth goal right here. So Kai Wagner, again, showing off his left foot, puts a perfect pass to Ua. And Michael has a great cutback. And then kudos to Indy Vasiliev. He just storms into the box, and Michael feeds him perfectly. And again, showing off his passing ability and his overall awareness for what to do when the ball gets him in the box. And I don't know if you have anything to add on the fifth goal there, but it's at this point, it's just a frenzy of goals. The floodgates opened up, and the Union just took advantage.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that, and it was sort of Todd Lewis, of a great friend of our show and great friend of ours personally too, sort of asked Bradley, like did the substitution from Quinn for Ua change our game plan? Because it was pretty apparent that from that point on, and maybe it was because the game in my head canon, I'm thinking maybe it was because the game got stretched, 10, 15 minutes in, but they were really using those channels on the outside in terms of freeing some guys to not go right through the middle. And Bradley said, we saw that, what their sixes do and what their center backs do. And if we can get them on the outside, then we can stretch them in the middle and then go back and forth, which is 100% soccer, right? You sort of try to switch it up so you're not as predictable. I mentioned it in the group chat, and man, like if Frankie Westfield and Nate Harriel were just 15% better at passing and crossing, how much better this team would be, because you wouldn't have to rely on Kai Wagner every single time to pump in 7 or 8 crosses, right? Like how much better this team would be insane.
Yeah, it's crazy you say that because they're already so good to begin with. Also, one of the person we didn't talk about in terms of injuries, and Cole mentions here, this win doesn't feel even great knowing how many guys took knocks, but even Nathan Harriel kept grabbing his right shoulder. For a split second, you see him kind of drop it on the sideline, and it looked like he almost had dislocated or something. So I don't know if he has a stinger on his shoulder or maybe he just got like a bruise or whatever it might be. But that was another player. I'm like, oh, great. They're all dropping like flies out here in DC. And then McFly adds here, Quinn might be gone for the season. Looked like an ACL after watching him go down.
Let's
After looking and it's just like, listen, McFly, I get it. You know, the thing is, we watch so much football that we see a certain thing, especially with non-contact. It's like, ugh, always got to hold your breath there. So we're gonna be knocking on wood. Like again, I have my Quinn Sullivan 7 U.S. men's national team kit on tonight, hoping that brings some good luck for for my favorite Sullivan. At least I don't know about you, Jose, but I prefer Quinn.
I have no favorites. Every player is a player in the team. I'm as professional as it can be, I hope.
Pat Bernard joins us. What's up, man? How you doing, Pat? Always good to hear from you. So listen, 6th goal here. Credit to Lukic, forcing a turnover by his press. Olaski gets the assist to Michael Ua. And it was just an easy finish for Michael there. But again, it goes back to this team being relentless. It's very easy for you to take your foot off the gas once you're up, even 3-0, 2-0, let alone 5-0. But you see how well this team plays. You see how disciplined they are. And I think it was Makani who starts it, and then Lukic finishes it with his press. But, I mean, Jose, it's impressive to see a team with the killer instinct. And we just have not had that over the last 2 years. And we've been asking for it this year, too. We've been asking for a performance like this. And I think Lukic's press on that 6th goal was the epitome of what we've been hoping for. A team that wants to kill the opponent, not just beat them by a goal.
Yeah, and you're again spot on. It's that killer mentality. And sure, the Union have had good games this year where you kind of see flashes of that, and then you sort of see, especially early in the season, think about the Columbus draw, right? Nashville draw too? No, they lost to Nashville all 3 times.
Yes. Columbus had drew.
Yeah, some of those like losses were like, man, where's that mentality to just kill her? I know for the longest time the line was there's no signature win. Oh, they coughed up their signature win, etc. I'm not saying that DC United is, and not for the foreseeable future will ever be, a signature victory, but the little pieces that they did right were very signature of what this team can do on the right night. And again, tonight was the right night. Think about the friendly bounces that they got, not just defensively, but the 2 times that hit the bar or the post.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a signature win, I'd argue that the home win against the Red Bulls, 2-0, with that phenomenal first 45 minutes, and we talked about that for a while, was probably their most impressive win because they handled the Red Bulls that game from start to finish. Like, it wasn't even close. But I'd say this is the most eye-opening win for sure. Like, oh wow, okay, so they can beat a team like they used to back in 2022. Couple more comments here. Mandy says, feels like the first match in forever we didn't have an offside. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, Mandy. We didn't get an offsides. Valerie, throttled. Yeah, as the Almanis always say, we can't wait to throttle opponents, and we certainly did that tonight. SC says, Union can finish with 69 points. That would be fantastic. Everybody loves the good 69. And Michael says, same for Chicago, just dominance. Yeah, we beat Chicago. We shut him out twice, I think, this year, Jose. Didn't we? For Chicago?
With Bedoya playing against, forget what the fuck's his name. I forget his name. Chicago had that one guy that Bedoya just completely shut down, which encouraged Bradley Cornell to put him against Vancouver in a similar position.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So in the pre-match press conference, if you guys didn't catch that, somebody asked Bradley Cornell, like, oh, well, something about Olivier Mbaizo. And he mentioned, like, oh, actually, Olivier was had a stomach bug recently, and that did partially come into play when it comes to Olivier not playing last week. At the same time, he also said, well, also Bedoya did well against Chicago, so we figured, well, Olivier is not fully 100%, so why not throw him back out there? And Jose, they're saying Bamba being the player that shut down.
That's who, but and I gotta do this like in my head when I finally find time. Right now I'm sort of like scrambling. How am I gonna do this? How it sounded video. You know how I do like the different languages. 6 goals is a lot of fucking work, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it by myself. My wife is taking Rafael to the baseball game tomorrow, so I gotta figure out how to do it with Benicio. But I gotta figure out, man, like think about all these crazy additions that happen across the league, with Austin breaking the transfer record twice. Cincinnati buying Denke, never mind what Atlanta did with Emmanuel Latte La or whatever. How much
that was.
Right. What a bust some of these players have been. And sure, some of them are going into the playoffs and potentially going into the playoffs. But think about, what the Union have done with Ty Baribo. and Bruno Damiani at $3 million. It's an unbelievable tip of the cap to Ernst Tanner. I know fans don't like to hear that, don't like to think about it, but the man knows how to hit with little money.
Yeah, I'm looking at the statistics right now. It's crazy. The Union had 14 shot attempts, 7 shots on goal, 6 goals. That's just a wild number to me. 5 corner kicks for the Union, 4 saves for Andre Blake. Just great stuff. Speaking of Atlanta, New England beat them tonight. So there you go, Valerie. Thanks for adding that in there as well. Atlanta just is limping to the end of the season at this point. To end the match, though, Bueno and Raffanello come on for Bruno and Indy Vassilev. Again, we talked about Indy having a bit of a knock during his substitution. Olivier would eventually replace Raffanello as he kind of was grabbing his right hamstring area, so we'll be hoping that he's okay as well. But Ben Bender came in tonight. Not only was Ben Bender on the bench, we saw he had some minutes. We know he's a Maryland native, like our good friend Todd Lewis. So happy to see Ben play. He did end up having a defensive, moment at the end of that match. I think Kai was limping back and Ben stood his ground and stopped a goal from going towards Blake. So any thoughts on Bender and that very small, weird sample size we got from him? Because overall, I thought he was just and he stepped up when he needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to knock him against. So, it was an appearance and happy for him, I'm sure. And this is where Jillian and Kyle and Todd, who were at the game, can probably tell. But, I'm sure there was plenty of family there to cheer the guy who's had a difficult last 2 to 3 years in terms of, being in a number 1 MLS draft pick to basically, I guess, literally being cut by Charlotte to now coming to Philadelphia and having more than a secondary, maybe a tertiary role in an MLS club. So who knows what his future holds, but I'm happy for him that he got to go in front of family, if there was some, sure.
I mean, listen, if you're talking about his value, right now he is basically, it took Frankie Westfield and Ty Brebo to be out of the rotation tonight for him to even see time on the bench. And really, I think with the injuries thrown into this mix, he probably doesn't see
Sullivan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you. He probably doesn't see time tonight without all that stuff going to play. But if you are going to have injuries, if you're going to have Raffanello hurt, I could see him taking Raffanello's spot on the bench. Raffanello's been on the bench every single time. So, I'm hoping that Quinn is okay. I'm hoping Raffanello's okay. I'm hoping Indy's okay. But if 1 or 2, if or not all 3 of those players are out, Ben Bender will have another chance again this season. And you're right, Jose. Absolutely right. He comes over. He sees time for us during that weird international break where everybody was gone, and then we had injuries. He basically serves his purpose, and then he just vanishes again. And we see him in the training videos and everything else they post on social media, but he just never gets seen again. So kudos to Ben. Again, I stepped up when he needed to. I'm happy for him. Again, family, as you mentioned, was probably there. So good stuff by Ben Bender there. Lord of Olympia says, great performance. Let's not forget the quality of opposition and a goalkeeper with his first game. Yeah, welcome to DC United, loses 6-0. SC says, Freese went off injured for New York City. Might have an untested goalkeeper next week as well. Oh, interesting. There you go. Matt Freese. We'll have to keep an eye on him. Yeah. Any news there?
Hold on. Let me scroll up on my messages.
Sure.
Just making sure. He got kicked in the head. May have been a concussion. Choupo-Moting got him in the head in the 68th minute. And Philadelphia Union Academy alum Tomas Romero could be the starter against Philadelphia.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so for those of you who are watching, SC mentions here, Freese was taken off against the Red Bulls tonight.
Could be a concussion.
Could be a concussion. Could be a concussion. At least in concussion protocol, for sure, after getting kicked in the head. So we'll see. Keep an eye out, and we'll not make any assumptions, but hopefully Matt Freese is doing okay.
I will not post the clip. I will not be posting the clip. I can't imagine it's good looking.
Oh, no, of course not. So let's look at the live standings before we wrap this show up. So the Union are currently 5 points ahead of Cincinnati. Did they play yet today? They play tomorrow.
Tomorrow against
Orlando. So Cincinnati's at 58 points in second place in the Eastern Conference. Orlando, wow, they fell to 7th place in the East.
Dude,
Columbus is okay. So I'm gonna go through the standings for those of you who don't have it in front because I didn't even realize until we started talking what's going on right now. So Cincinnati, 58 points. New York City in third, 56 points. Inter Miami with 2 games in hand, 56 points. Charlotte FC at 5th place with 53 points. Nashville SC currently up 3-1 on Houston. They will be at 53 points if that's live and accurate. Orlando, 51 points in 7th place. Columbus has fallen to 8th place in the Eastern Conference with 50 points. They are only 2 points ahead of Chicago. Columbus is losing right now to Chicago 2-0. So I guess FOTMob keeps us up to date then, because that would put Chicago in the 9th place at 48 points. I don't believe they're going to leapfrog them with a victory. I think that's a live standings on FOTMob. And then the Red Bulls. Who's winning the Red Bulls in New York City? Who won that game?
I'm not sure, Mike. I've been I've been with you or on a
New York City beat them 3-2. So the 10th place in the Eastern Conference is the Red Bulls at 43 points. So they're 5 points behind Chicago for that final playoff spot. So it looks like Columbus is probably going to hang on. I don't think the Red Bulls are going to leapfrog into the playoffs, at least not the 8th spot. But Columbus, considering how good they've been in the past, have really fallen down the table pretty significantly.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, I must admit, I think Columbus has been the most injured team in MLS in terms of the players. I mean, their latest, their Palestinian striker that they just bought is out till maybe the first or second round of playoffs. So yeah, Columbus has had a tough go, and I mean Nashville, the free fall that they've had after being sort of potentially pack leaders, it's really been more of a Cincinnati and Philadelphia
I was going to say that too.
The year, but a lot of it also having to do with Miami just being involved in so much with Leagues Cup and Club World Cup plus MLS plus CONCACAF Champions Cup. So if anything, I know people hate to give praise to Miami, but to sort of be involved and do as well as they have in terms across of all the competitions that they participated in is sort of an outstanding achievement in its own. But you're also the bride left at the altar because you didn't really win any of them.
Soccer-wise, already thinks Gazdag might be sold next season. Yeah, it's been tough for Columbus. I do like Wilfried Nancy a lot. I like him as a coach. I would love to have him as a coach in Philly. Obviously, Bradley Carnell's doing a great job, but it sucks. They've really fallen down. But you're right. Nashville, besides their wins against Philly, Nashville really plummeted quickly because they were also on a hot streak this year. Remember, like when Uni went on like a 12-game winning streak or whatever it was, 12-game unbeaten streak. Nashville also had like a 14-game unbeaten streak this year. They were on fire for a good stretch of the summer. Western Conference, San Diego has 57 points. Vancouver is 56. So let's go to Supporter Shield standings. That's probably what everybody cares about the most. Cincinnati, again, 58. They're in second place. San Diego, with a game in hand, has 57 points. And then NYCFC, 56 points. Vancouver has 2 games in hand at 56 points. And Miami, 2 games in hand with 56 points. So Miami and Vancouver, with the most games in hand out of any club right now in MLS, besides Orlando, are 7 points behind the Union. So we mentioned earlier this month was the Union have to win against New York City. And I would assume a draw, in your opinion, is probably enough to win the Shield. That's 4 more points.
I say no because I think winning out's the only way. Unless somehow, who does Miami play?
I'll tell you right now, brother. I will tell you right now.
They play Chicago.
They play Chicago in 3 days.
Yeah. So.
And then they play New England at home. They play Atlanta United at home, and then they play Nashville on the road.
I mean, if somehow Miami loses 1 and draws 1 out of their last 4, and the Union, I don't know. Chicago and Nashville are probably the last hopes for Miami to drop points. Though I said in my head that like there's no way they're dropping points against Toronto, but they did.
Toronto's not a bad. Listen, Toronto has not been a bad squad in the second half of the season.
Maybe, yeah.
We saw that firsthand. They're not terrible.
I mean, I just see a 12th place team and think about the pieces that are there and the pieces that certainly don't belong in MLS.
They have 13 draws this year,
which is it's an unreal amount. I mean, at two per each, that right, 26 points that they've dropped in terms of just how much higher they could be should they have won all of those. But obviously that's if, thens, and whats. But
sure,
yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to think about that, Mike, because I like to think that Philadelphia just wants to win out. With games to go and also sort of the future being out of their hands, with Miami having one additional match. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that would be if Philadelphia loses the Shield because they don't have any more games and Miami goes and makes up the game? You know what I mean? Like what a disaster that would be.
Interesting caveat here, if you want to talk about what Nashville has to play for. So Nashville right now, with their victory over Houston, which is about to end, are 3 points behind Inter Miami, who's in the 4th place in the Eastern Conference. If everything falls the way in Nashville's way in these next 2 games, and Miami struggles to get a win or 2 in these next 2 games, there is a chance where Nashville could potentially leapfrog Miami into the 4th place in the Eastern Conference, which would be huge from a home field advantage standpoint. Yeah, that's what we need. We need to have Nashville like trying to get back into good form and earn a spot higher up the table in that last game on decision day.
I think I look more at the draws than the losses in terms of what the Philadelphia Union could have in terms of cushion. Like think about that Columbus Crew draw, how much worse that looks now, right? That last minute draw,
the Miami draw.
The Miami draw, how bad that looks too, right? And that alone is 4 points. Imagine having a 4-point cushion here on games that you were genuinely about to win and sort of cough up at the end.
Nashville, they blew a point when Makanya fouled Mukhtar in the box.
Yeah, I don't know.
Time. I mean, you're talking about 7 points right there. No, 5 points, right? I'll give or take. Yeah, 7 points.
Yeah, so that's the way I look at it. Losses are losses, but like the draws are the ones that are like, And I guess the other thing, and this is for a different like exercise, but were they home when they're away? And that's where Columbus looks even worse because that was at home.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me. Really quick here, I'm going to try to see what Inter Miami's schedule looks like because that's a big one. I think that's the one that could definitely hop over us. So Miami plays Chicago on Tuesday. That's weird. They played them on Tuesday.
Which is great. Less rest.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Chicago's also going to be on less rest too. So it's Tuesday for Miami versus Chicago. Then they have Saturday on the 4th against New England. Saturday, and then Saturday. They do not get a break for international winter like we do. They play on October 11th. So they play week after week after week, whereas we have that extra 10 days, whatever it is, off, So I don't know if that matters, but it's going to be a full push for them to win the Shield or at least climb up the table. Any last thoughts, though? I mean, we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about injuries and the game, but it was exactly what I was hoping for tonight.
Nothing to add, man. What a night. These are those special nights, even if it's against DC, and this is what sort of gives you hope, but maybe kills you down the line, right? When you think about, man, could they have had, if they would have had one of these performances when it matters most in the playoffs. But I know that a lot of the fan base and certainly the players are going after this supporter shield, and let's see if the Union can do it. At this point, as it stands, it's in their hands. It's just whether or not they can finally, close the grip on it and finish out the mission. Absolutely. Anything you're working on before we sign off that I can share? No, man. I've been so busy with MLS work and just flat out just getting back from a nearly 7 or 8 day trip to San Francisco, LA, and Seattle, and just getting caught up in life and my body. So nothing on the side gig, honestly. Just been bad about that. So I apologize. All good, man. I trust me. I get it. I know the jet lag and all that time shifting around for you is tough. I fully get it. I admire what you do, sir. For me personally, the college basketball season's only a month away, so I've already started my preview for Villanova basketball. They just lost Askew for an indefinite amount of time. I got to double check on how long he's out for. So keep an eye out for the Villanova preview. I'll probably put out a week before the season starts once more things come out with injuries
any potential additions to their roster, etc. They still have one spot available. And of course, if Askey's hurt for long term, they might try to shuffle things around. I'm not sure. But otherwise, again, Jose, I mentioned before you hopped on, I'm playing this one close to the vest, but I was at Super Park yesterday for a really unique project that I got asked to be a part of. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not gonna spoil it yet. I was there for an hour and a half, and it was just a really wild experience, and hopefully something that you all enjoy, and I can share with you all, and that's it. So this is Across the Pitch, a Union Post Gamer show on AAT Sports Network. Next Saturday, October 4th, I will not be able to go live for our post game show because I will be at a concert in Philadelphia. So Jose, if you want to take the reins, feel free.
I will be at the Philadelphia Phillies watching Red October.
I'm jealous. Oh, that's right. Damn it. I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to be at a concert when the game's on. Shit. Okay. Yeah. Well, so either way. So there's no post-game show for us next Saturday. We'll be back on a normal schedule again the following Saturday. Oh, the 18th, rather, I should say, against Charlotte. And then we'll be likely on our post-game shows throughout the entire playoffs. I don't see how I have anything in the way to miss it. The only times I've ever missed post-game shows have been with concerts anyway. So that's done after this week. I promise. Otherwise, Mandy says they're going to do a Valerie and Mandy show. I would actually
Mike, I kind of like the idea. Maybe we
like
just set the guardrails a little bit, but our show is pretty fucking unhinged, so maybe they can tighten it up quite a bit. Honestly,
we have a very relaxed approach to our show. I like that about us. We just kind of like bullshit our way through it, and we see how it goes and talk some Union. I love it. It's never too serious. Anyway, thank you all for joining us tonight. 228 viewers right now. Awesome stuff. I appreciate it. Jose Nunez, Jose R. Nunez 91 on Twitter. Embarrera1323, Embarrera1323 on Twitter for myself. And that's it. Have a great night, everybody. Go Union. Oh, go Birds tomorrow. Sorry.